So I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a real edited video, and I am working on the Resident Evil 7 video, and I am working on putting out another podcast with Cole and Robbie that should be filmed and edited sometime here soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk about a game that I played through multiple times that I've been enjoying lately called Gato Roboto. Essentially, in the game, you play as Kiki, a tiny little kitty, and you traverse numerous dangerous areas and collect power-ups and upgrades to fight a rat, which is being evil, I think. Overall, I think this is a fantastic game, but I wanted to talk about some of my favorite aspects of the game through playing through it. Now, I feel like at this point I have enough agency to talk about it, which is always an issue when I approach games because I don't want to sound like a jackass. So before I even made this video, I made sure to play the game 3 or 4 times. Every playthrough I've done in this game has helped me enjoy it more and more. And I think that it's very special in the way that it approaches the Metroidvania, style. I heavily suggest this to anyone who hasn't played a Metroidvania game or even knows what that means, because I think it's a really good introduction to the genre. Gato Roboto is a very light-paced game where you don't have to put a lot of effort in because it's not a very long game, but there still is a bit of challenge to it, and there still is a lot of creativity and humor behind it, which really pushes the story. Now, while I think this is a great Metroidvania, I do think there are some problems, but I kind of want to explore some of my favorite parts about the game before we get into the things that hold it back from being even better. To start off with the good things, I kind of want to address a point that I feel like some people don't entirely love, and that it's a little bit of a point of contention with the game. It's a very short game. My first playthrough lasted me, I think, 4 hours. I feel like that was okay for me because I knew I was going to go back into it, but I paid $6 for it, and for 4 hours of gameplay, potentially, if I had stopped, that's rough. And I think that it is very, very, very short for what it is. Easily they could have pushed it and included more, but pretty early on you understand it's going to be a very short game. But regardless, I feel like the enemies and areas are very challenging, so maybe if you're not great at Metroidvanias, you're not great at platforming, you could potentially have a longer playthrough. Yeah, I think that my first playthrough was short, but it was very fun, and something that I think is another great plus to the game is the fact that it's hilarious. And all the dialogue you have for your character, the cat, Kiki, and the main villain, and even your master or owner, it's all funny. And the game has a really, really strong sense of humor, and that helps push the story along. Yeah, I think that the humor in the game is really strong, and something else that stands out to me is the combat itself. It's very fluid and it's very fast. I think they understand what makes a good Metroidvania when it comes to the combat, because you have your normal blaster, which can be upgraded to be even better, but the rockets and the phaser are two of the things that I think are extremely strong, along with the spin jump. Most of the upgrades are extremely strong, I guess is what I'm saying. The rockets allow you to rocket jump, and having that level of verticality and movement is incredible, and it really is useful, and it was probably my favorite tool of movement throughout the whole game once I really learned how to do it. It's a game that doesn't have the lowest skill floor, but it's not so high that it's going to be off-putting to new players, and you can use these techniques like the spin jump and the phaser and the rocket jump and just rocket boosting in general to really push your gameplay in further playthroughs. Exploring out of the suit, which is heavily pushed at least in one section but is used overall, is something that I really enjoyed, and it was very refreshing even for a 4-hour game. Overall, I think that a lot of the mechanics in the game and the upgrades and the movement are really fun. Another thing I really enjoyed are the upgrades to the color palette, which were really welcoming when I first played the game. Buying it, I like the black and white aesthetic, and I'm okay with it, but some of the people I talked to about the game were kind of off-put by how jarring it is. Once you're in-game, you can find collectibles that allow you to change the color palette to all these different color palettes. One's a reference to the Virtual Boy, there's bubblegum, mud, dirt, spit, or whatever it's called. It just tons of different color palettes that really help freshen the game up and make it lively. I'm going to spoil one of these secret achievements here to talk about something else I really like, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip ahead to this part, but it's not a huge spoiler in general. There is a achievement in the game that refers to sequence breaking in the way you approach the levels, where you can use the rocket upgrade that you get to essentially go to the heat vent area almost immediately. And you can go through that area only using the missiles and really well-timed jumps. That was probably my favorite experience of the whole game, if we're being honest, because it's so challenging, but I feel like it's the perfect difficulty for the game. It made me realize that while this is a very lightweight game, I wish there was a bit more, or a hard mode. So hopefully that's something they can patch in. But that achievement on its own get me a ton of enjoyment out of the game. So those are some of the things that I think are great about the game and really stood out to me. But there are some cons that held me back from like truly loving the game. One of the things that I feel is bad about the game is the fact that there's not a lot of complexity in terms of puzzles. And when you get to a game like Super Metroid, there is a lot that they require the player to do and kind of explore, whether it's, trying platforms and walls to see if you could blow them up with super missiles or super bombs, or really kind of tapping into the world around you. I feel like Gato Roboto doesn't necessarily do that to a very strong degree when it comes to trying to find cassette tapes or trying to find health pickups. The health pickups in the cassette tapes are almost always kind of indicated in really simple ways, like barely out of reach for a power-up, and there's not a lot of mystery behind it. I think there's like 2 health pickups or 2 cassette tapes that you have to blow open a wall to find that aren't accessible through the minimap. I feel like they could try a little bit harder in terms of hiding those things and really pushing the player to, explore and really dig into the game. Another thing that's also really rough is the fact that the timer runs in the pause menu. Like I said, this is not a huge deal. I don't even think I said that. It's not a huge deal when it comes to just normal playthroughs, but if you're gonna put a speedrun achievement in, please don't let the timer run in the menus. I don't like that. Don't do that, please. The last big complaint I have has to do with the story and the ending. So if you don't want to have that spoiled, skip ahead once again to this point. I'm sorry for making you do the legwork. Once you beat the game, the ending is a little unsatisfying. It's kind of cute, but it kind of sucks, and I don't feel like there's a huge reaction from Kiki the cat. This is such a weird point. To explain the ending, your master gets kidnapped by the evil rat, and then the rat puts his mind in your owner's body, and then the rat you kill your owner or the rat or something, and then the dog Barkley comes out and he saves you, and then you both run to the escape pod and you get out. And then the mouse makes it onto the spaceship when you load your save back up, which is cool. You can load your save back up and actually walk around the ship. The rat's on the ship, but the rat is your owner because you think he's your owner because he says good kitty and that's what your owner says. I have a bit of a problem with that. One, why isn't my owner like, hey, it's me, Kiki, I'm the rat now, but it's fine, maybe we'll be, we're friends now. Or even, why is there nothing to do on the ship? Why can you not activate the little terminal that usually gives you audio files for shit like that? Why does it not do anything? Why can't I talk to Barkley? It's a stupid point and it's very minor, but that was a little disheartening to see because I feel like Kiki didn't have a strong reaction to his owner getting murdered, brain switched by rats. So I don't know. But yeah, so that's the only real plot issue, I guess. Overall, I think that this is a great game for people who like Metroidvanias and for people who have never played one. It's a cute little adventure, and even though it's a bit on the short side with a couple of things that bother me about how easy it is, it's a good romp regardless. And it's funny, it's engaging, and it's endearing to play as Kiki the cat. So I'm happy that I played it, and I should have never been surprised that playing as a kitty cat in a mech would be one of the funnest things I've played in a couple months. Thank you for watching the video. Like I said before, I am working on Resident Evil 7, and we also have another podcast called Robbie and I coming out probably sometime this week, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, toodly-doo.